Throughout my years of practice, I have witnessed thousands of patients walk into my office with the belief that the more tests, the better. But there's a truth that very few of my colleagues are willing to share with you. After age 7, many of the health checkups we routinely perform may be silently harming your life more than protecting it. This may sound unbelievable, but it has become a major concern in the medical community. Many tests are no longer shields protecting health, but have become burdens that reduce quality of life, cause unnecessary anxiety, lead to futile treatments, and drain financial resources. Last week, an 83-year-old patient came to see me to review his routine checkup results. His daughter was worried about some slightly abnormal values, and whether additional tests were needed. I paused for a moment, looked at his file, and realized this was an opportunity for an honest conversation. Actually, I said, at this age, the effectiveness of many tests has changed completely. We need to be more selective and only do what truly benefits the patient. After many years of practice, I've come to realize how many tests patients have blindly accepted, only to worry about the results and even undergo unnecessary treatments. Especially after age 70, the purpose of health checkups needs to shift in a completely different direction. In medical literature, there's a study from a prestigious medical school showing that 68% of elderly people over 70 are undergoing tests they absolutely don't need. This leads to inaccurate diagnoses and inappropriate care, a problem we in the field call the medical cascade. Even more concerning, some tests that benefit younger people can actually harm the elderly. The more is better mindset that our society has developed regarding healthcare has now become a dangerously misguided concept. I remember the case of one patient, Mr. Hank, 76 years old. His comprehensive exam detected a small nodule in his lung through a routine CT scan. For the next 6 months, he was consumed by worry and stress throughout repeated tests and waiting periods. Finally, we determined it was just a benign nodule, but he said, "Those 6 months? I thought about death every day, and it was all for nothing." Unnecessary tests can damage a patient's mental health faster than actual illness. This is when I want to help you understand which tests are truly necessary and which ones should be carefully considered. The term health checkup has become familiar to all of us, but how many people truly understand its deep meaning at different ages? Tests that patients undergo without question because they believe they're good for health sometimes actually harm their bodies and men. The second story is so shocking you won't believe it. Just because there are many tests doesn't mean they're good for your health. In some cases, they can be very harmful. I felt this with all my heart through the experience of Aunt Lucy, 72 years old. She was extremely worried about her health. She never missed her annual comprehensive checkup and faithfully followed all procedures, so she was known as an exemplary patient. But one day, a small abnormality was discovered in her routine blood test. The hospital recommended additional tests, and she went to various hospitals to be examined accurately because of her worry. In the end, there was no problem, but the process wasn't smooth. She had to undergo an unnecessary biopsy, and the biopsy site became infected. She had to take strong antibiotics to treat the infection, but those antibiotics destroyed the microbial balance in her digestive system. She had to endure digestive problems for over 6 months. Her words, "The checkup made me sick," still ring in my head. In the medical field, these unnecessary diagnoses and treatments are called overdiagnosis and overtreatment. This risk increases as you age. There are valid reasons for this. First, the body's parameters change with age. Aging is a natural physiological change, and it's normal for some numbers to be different from when you were young. However, most screening standards are based on young adults, making them difficult to apply to the elderly. For example, research has shown that slightly high cholesterol actually improves survival rates in people over 70, yet we continue to label them as sick under the guise of normal range. Second, the tests themselves come with risks. Tests like colonoscopy also become more dangerous as you age. The risk of serious complications like bowel perforation is higher, and studies have shown this risk is 4 times higher in 80. We shouldn't ignore the fact that what we think are simple tests can have significant impacts on the aging body. Third is the side effects of medication. My mother was prescribed statins because her cholesterol was slightly higher than the normal range during a health checkup. She began taking them without suspicion, but soon after she started experiencing muscle pain, and even simple movements became painful. It turned out that level wasn't a problem for people her age. Eventually, her body felt comfortable again after stopping the medication. Fourth is the economic issue we often overlook. Additional checkups, medications, and hospital visits come with considerable costs. One of my friends spent all the money he had planned to use for a year-long overseas trip on unnecessary checkups and treatments. It was supposedly for his health, but it took away his life. And finally, the most fundamental and important issue is psychological stress. The anxiety of waiting for test results, the fear that emerges when even a single number falls outside the range, and concerns about whether there's illness. These stresses weaken the body's immune system and actually damage health. When the mind becomes ill, the body will collapse with it. This anxiety can be a heavier and more devastating pain than any treatment. So which tests are truly necessary? I'm not saying you should stop all testing. Instead, true prevention and recovery is about carefully selecting only the tests your body truly needs and finding health standards that fit you. If you can avoid wasting time on unnecessary tests and focus that energy on improving quality of life, that's the key to managing elderly health wisely. As you age, your body silently but surely undergoes changes. To deal with these changes wisely, it's important to listen to your body and carefully check the parts that need care. But you can't protect your health by blindly performing all tests. What's truly important is knowing which tests you need and sticking to them. 5 essential tests for the golden years. The 5 tests I'm about to tell you about are essential for maintaining health in old age. First is blood pressure measurement. High blood pressure silently creeps in without symptoms and can suddenly lead to stroke or heart attack. This is why I measure my father's blood pressure every morning and record it. This habit, which initially seemed like a tedious chore, has now become an important ritual that starts the day. My father also says, when I measure my blood pressure in the morning, I can understand my body's condition just by looking at the numbers. And that's where his day begins. Second is diabetes testing. Diabetes can cause various complications throughout the body, and it's a major disease that significantly reduces quality of life in old age. But fortunately, it can be fully managed with medication and lifestyle changes if detected early. My neighbor, Mr. Smith, was diagnosed with diabetes at age 75 and walked 30 minutes every morning. As a result, his blood sugar returned to normal without medication in less than a year. What he said was truly memorable. Since I started walking, I sleep better and feel healthier. Actually, my diabetes was an opportunity to change my life. Third is bone density testing. The risk of osteoporosis increases dramatically, especially for postmenopausal women. If bones become weak, they can break easily even from minor impacts, which can lead to prolonged bed rest or even life-threatening conditions. My mother was diagnosed with osteoporosis at age 67, and since then she has supplemented calcium and vitamin D now, at 78. She still walks straight and climbs stairs without any problems. Her persistence has become a pillar of her health. Fourth is hearing and vision testing. It's natural for sensory organs to gradually weaken as you age, but if you neglect these changes, you'll be cut off from the outside world, which can lead to isolation, depression, and even cognitive decline. My uncle's hearing declined, but initially he hesitated to wear a hearing aid. He said, "I'm fine, I can still hear, it's just annoying." But he began speaking less with family, and a dark expression appeared on his face. Finally, he wore a hearing aid, and the smile returned to his face. The words he spoke began to return one by one. Fifth is depression screening. Feelings of depression in old age are often overlooked as just mood changes. My mother stayed awake all night and suffered from insomnia after my father passed away, and her motivation noticeably declined. Initially, my family thought she was just aging, but after being properly diagnosed with depression screening and receiving counseling and treatment, her eyes brightened again. At first, I never imagined I was depressed. I just thought it was because I was getting old, but after treatment, the world began to have color again. The difference of a personalized approach. These 5 tests aren't just for finding disease. More importantly, they're preparation for living the second half of life more comfortably and abundantly. You don't need to do all tests, but don't underestimate these essential ones. Health checkups shouldn't be applied uniformly to everyone based on a single standard. There needs to be a personalized plan that considers each person's physical condition, family history, and lifestyle. I still remember what Mr. Johnson, whom I met before, told me when he was 78. My parents both died of heart disease, so I'll definitely do those tests. But I don't do cancer screening anymore. I know best what my body can handle. This way, to age in the best way, we must learn to choose more precisely rather than eliminate more things. Isn't that the wisdom of truly maintaining health? The importance of family history and lifestyle. One of the important factors is family. If someone in your immediate family, parents or siblings, has had a specific disease, you need a deeper and more careful approach to testing for that disease, rather than just routine checkups. In my case, there's someone in my family who had colon cancer, so I get regular colonoscopies. On the other hand, I discuss thoroughly with my doctor about other types of cancer screening and decide whether they're necessary and adjust them. Because I realize that doing all tests isn't necessarily good. I realize it's a wiser way to spend time and energy focusing on diseases that might be greater risks for me. Lifestyle is also an essential part of health. For example, if you've smoked your whole life, you shouldn't ignore lung-related checkups. Also, if you live a life regularly, outdoors with lots of sun exposure, you should consider skin cancer screening. My father was a carpenter for 40 years. He used his lungs for a long time in a dusty environment, so he still gets lung checkups because the body remembers. And one thing we often miss is current medications being taken. Some medications can stress the liver or kidneys, so regular function tests should be performed along with them. My aunt has been taking arthritis medication for a long time, so she gets liver function tests every 6 months. without fail. Knowing the effect that medication has on your body is just as important as taking medicine regularly. Partnership, relationship with healthcare workers. Finally, you should know your body best. So I think a trusting partnership, relationship with healthcare workers is more important than anything. Whenever you take your parents to the hospital, you always prepare a list of questions beforehand. Is this test really necessary? What are the possible risks of taking this test? Is this result important enough to change the treatment direction? What are the risks of skipping this test at this age? If you have these questions organized beforehand, you can make clear decisions instead of vague worries. Most doctors try to share enough information so patients can know more and make choices. Just as important as health checkups is organizing and remembering results. I keep a separate health notebook for my parents and carefully record all test results, medications they're taking, special notes, etc. It's very helpful when consulting at the hospital, and when you age, memory isn't what it used to be. So it's really valuable to have the habit of organizing everything so you can see at a glance when you did which test and what the results were. What's more important than tests? Daily life. But today I want to talk about something more important than health checkups. That's daily life. How you live each day. These small repetitions are sometimes more powerful than a doctor's prescription. You may find it hard to believe, but research has shown that after age 7, daily health habits have a greater impact on quality of life than regular checkups. I think about my neighbor, Mr. Williams. At 92, he walks around the park 3 times every morning. Rain or shine, he never misses a day. One day he told me, medicine is good, but my legs are better. Medicine? Since I made walking part of my life, I don't go to the hospital as much. When I heard that, I truly felt deeply that exercise, especially as you age, is important to a degree I can't express in words. Of course, not everyone can exercise in the same way. If it's difficult to move muscles or joints, low-impact exercises like swimming or indoor cycling are good alternatives. My mother was diagnosed with arthritis at age 73, but she exercises regularly in water every morning. Finding the method that suits you is ultimately the most consistent and safe way to maintain health. At first I was even afraid to move my body. I was tense with even the smallest movement because I didn't know when or how severe the pain would be. But over time I realized that staying still actually made the pain worse. When I slowly gained courage to move my body, the pain gradually lessened and exercise became part of my daily life. Nutrition and hydration, the building blocks of health. The importance of lifestyle habits becomes clearer over time. Especially as you age, protein consumption is something you cannot take lightly. As you age, muscle mass naturally decreases, so supplementing protein to maintain it is essential. But the reality isn't that simple. Many elderly people have difficulty eating protein because of weak teeth and digestive function. That's not what it used to be. My mother also had difficulty chewing hard foods, like meat, so I try to include soft, easily digestible foods, like tofu, eggs, and fish in her diet. I also often use plant-based protein-rich ingredients like beans. I never knew there could be so many diverse and delicious dishes made with tofu. Now she can have a satisfying meal without specifically seeking meat. Hydration is the same. As you age, even the sensation of thirst becomes vague, so you can easily become dehydrated. This is why I set alarms for my father to drink water at certain times. At first he said it was annoying, but now he naturally drinks water, and thanks to that his skin is less dry and constipation has decreased significantly. It's a small change, but the effect is really big. You cannot ignore the role of sleep in maintaining health. Especially, many elderly people have difficulty sleeping at night, and creating a stable evening routine can be a great help. Every evening at 8 o'clock, my mother drinks a warm glass of milk, does some light stretching exercises, then goes to sleep listening to quiet music. I'm so grateful to be able to sleep without medication at this age. My evening routine is better than medicine. These words are full of gratitude for the time she struggled with insomnia for too long and her current peace. Mental health and social connection above all. Humans are social beings. No matter how well you take care of your health, if you're consumed by loneliness, mental illness will soon affect your body. In fact, research has shown that social isolation is as harmful to your health as smoking. My mother joined a local choir at age 77. At first she hesitated, but she gained new vitality, singing with new friends and preparing for performances. Singing makes me feel young again. It's wonderful to laugh together, sometimes make mistakes, and still learn from each other and share joy. I saw my mother's second youth in that laughter. Looking back at all these stories, managing health after age 70 isn't just about avoiding illness. We realize it requires an integrated approach that includes not just physical health, but also mental stability and social connection. A good example is a wellness program I saw at a nursing home. The person in charge there said that every morning as soon as participants wake up, they ask them to write down their mood, energy level, pain level, and sleep quality from the night before, as a simple diary. Thanks to this, they became much more sensitive to their own physical condition and didn't miss even small changes. I also tried this method with my parents. At first my father laughed and said, "I'm not a student. Why do I have to write a diary?" But after a few weeks, he was the first one to pick up the pen. I understand the days I don't sleep well. Those are the days I drink coffee. That's the problem. When he could understand his body and connect it to lifestyle patterns, my father became more confident in taking care of his own health. Small habits, big impact. This way, small but consistent practices have great meaning in old age. When you need to look at yourself more carefully than at any other time in life, whether it's the smallest movement, a trembling cup of tea, or a line in a diary, I toss and turn whenever I watch TV late or drink caffeine. After those uncomfortable nights, I finally started listening to the subtle signals the body was sending. Surprisingly, each subtle awareness told me more than an expensive health checkup. I realized how valuable the habit of focusing on my own body and mind is. You cannot ignore mental health as well as physical health. In today's busy and complex world, managing stress is the key to truly managing health. One of my friends started meditating at age 76. At first he said it was really difficult to even close his eyes and sit still. 5 minutes is too long. All kinds of thoughts run through my head so I can't concentrate at all. That person now meditates 20 minutes every day. After I calm my mind, my body also he regained peace in that unique time and is now bringing stability to his body through peace of mind. Prevention. Avoiding loss is better than treating. Managing health focused on prevention also cannot be ignored. No matter how healthy you look, danger can always come silently. So everything from carefully checking the house to prevent falls, to getting appropriate vaccinations for diseases like flu, pneumonia, and shingles, and dental care all make old age much safer and more comfortable. At my house, we placed non-slip mats in the bathroom for my parents and installed sturdy handrails on the wall. We also changed the lighting to soft, bright colors. Now I trust from experience that these small changes can prevent big accidents. And above all, one of the secrets to living long is having purpose in life. Not just about breathing and enduring day by day, but knowing for yourself what you're living for. My mother also found that meaning in life at age 73. She started volunteering to read books to children at a local elementary school. That work brought new vitality to my mother. I'm so happy when the children listen to my stories and react. I can feel that I'm still needed by someone. Those words are full of reward and self-respect that cannot be expressed. Perhaps that activity is the secret to longevity, giving you more strength than any health supplement. So what's the key point of the long story we shared today? It's not that health checkups become meaningless when you enter old age, but rather their meaning changes fundamentally. If the most important thing when you're young is to detect disease early and treat quickly, then when entering the second half of life, what kind of life you live becomes more important than how long you live. The story of my friend, Mr. Peterson, is a typical example. One day at age 88, an abnormality was discovered in his colon cancer screening results, and medical staff recommended surgery to remove the colon. However, after deeply considering his life's reality and priorities, Mr. Peterson decided to focus on symptom relief rather than surgery. I don't want to spend my remaining time in a hospital bed. Instead of enduring a long recovery time, I want to live doing what I can do now. Honestly, I was shocked when I first heard that, but over time, I understood his decision. He managed his illness well for the next 2 years, spending more time with his grandchildren and traveling to Seattle, something he had dreamed of his whole life. He completed the final chapter of his life in his own way, shining brightly instead of painful treatment. Finally, he showed us in life that the true meaning of health isn't simply about extending life, but about maintaining the strength to continue doing what you love. My mother says, for me, health is the strength to hug my grandchildren, the joy of tending the garden, and the leisure to laugh with an old friend over a cup of coffee. Those words are full of affection for life and the true meaning of health. Yes, isn't that the health we should pursue? I sincerely hope today's story has planted a new perspective in your heart. I hope you'll have the wisdom to focus on what's truly precious in your life at this moment, rather than spending time, money, and energy on unnecessary tests or treatments. True health isn't about avoiding every possible disease. It's about living fully with what you have, enjoying every moment, and maintaining meaningful connections with those you love. As we age, our bodies will change. That's natural and unavoidable. But what we can control is how we respond to those changes, how we choose to care for ourselves, and how we decide to live our golden years. Sometimes, less really is more. Fewer tests, less worry, fewer medications, but more time for family, more joy in simple things, and more peace in the soul. I want to leave you with this thought. Your health isn't measured by the number of tests you take or the number of doctors you see. It's measured by the quality of the days you live, the depth of the relationships you nurture, and the joy you find in this journey. Choose wisely, and remember that old age isn't about just existing. It's about thriving in every precious moment you're given. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. I hope it'll help you make better decisions for your own health and happiness.